I like to think of myself as an observer, an opportunist with a camera. So I wander around, I skulk around quite a lot with the camera, and I get some funny looks sometimes because people think, I'll be looking up and down a wall like that, and I'll be going, is there a picture, and things like that, and folks are going by and they're going, is he all right, Well, I'm not really, but anyway. But basically, when I come to the clubs and judge the competitions, one or two things are evident to me. The first thing is really across the board, the quality of the images are very good. People are getting nowadays, they've got their head around digital and everything else, and they're taking good pictures now with basically around the exposure, the colour and the sharpness. And we're getting a lot of really good pictures like that. When I'm judging them, I'm going, this is lovely and sharp, or it's got good colour, or it's got good exposure. And mostly they are good exposures because the cameras help us along with that one anyway, but that's good. Composition is a bit questionable at times. I find myself as well, when I'm judging competitions, saying that could have just been to be a bit that way, or that could have been that way a little bit, you could have moved round a little bit. So where you stand is important as well. Content. This is where I want to get into. And I want to try and emphasize the fact that the content is important. When I'm judging the pictures and I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, well, it's ticked the boxes on the exposure, the colour, everything else. But I'm looking at it and it doesn't have that, we'll use the word wow factor. It doesn't have to be wow, but something, I think when you look at a picture on there, when you're sat here tonight and you go, oh, that's a load of rubbish. Well, you will be doing later on, but anyway. You're getting a reaction from the audience, the viewers, the people that are looking at the pictures. Some of the pictures that come up in the competitions, as I say, are technically very good, but people go, yeah, I've seen that picture 1,000 times, or I've seen that river, or I've seen that, and I've seen it taken from the same place, I mean, everybody photographs the Eiffel Tower in the same way, that sort of thing. So basically, it's just the content that's letting a lot of the pictures, for me, as a judge, I look at them and I go, I wish, the ones that have got that little bit of a special feeling about them are the ones that win every time. And some people are good at it and they win all the competitions, don't they, Don? And no, he used to, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, people do that, and the same people sort of end up, it's like when I go to some of the other clubs, you almost know that these certain pictures are done by certain people just by looking at the picture and thinking, so-and-so, I mean, I'm quite often wrong, but yeah, you can. I think if viewers react, and it's a good reaction, especially, when people go, oh, like this, or anything like that, then I think you've done it right. You've ticked all the boxes at that point. You've given it that content as well. So, yeah. When you're doing pictures as well, I like to think that, for me, there's different ways of using the photographs. You've got standalone images, right? So you're walking down the street and you see something that happens and you snap it away, or you see something that looks really interesting, so you take a picture of it. Now that picture can stand alone, and you can put it in for a competition or whatever. And then you're walking along a bit further and you see something that's connected to that first picture you've just taken. And then you see another one somewhere else and you think, oh, there's a storyline here. So you carry on taking those pictures in that ilk, as it were. You know, you're looking for other types of pictures that will go into that collection. And then when you get that collection, you get one really good picture that's connected to that storyline, and you think, oh, I shall enter that as a single standalone image in the competition. If you get what I'm trying to say here. I'll show you in a minute what I mean by that anyway. One of the things I would like to emphasize to a lot of people as well is, and I don't know if they do this, but on your cameras, most modern cameras now have a timer on them, right? Now, I've heard many times before, and I'm actually getting into the same area now, where I say, get down and get the pictures. I can't get down, I'll never get back up again, you know, and stuff like that. Well, my knees are getting really bad now. And when I get down sometimes, I need a hand back up again. So if you've got a timer on your camera, and you want to get that low down picture, you can always put it on the floor on the timer. And it's a tripod as well as the floor. So you can get a different angle. You can leave the camera to do its own thing, or you may have set the camera with the exposure, everything that you want to take it with. But different angles. And I'll show you a couple of pictures tonight that are taken that sort of way, you know, with timers and things like that, to show you, to give you some ideas that you can expand upon, perhaps. Yeah, so find out where the timers are and make sure you know how they work. I mean, a lot of people I come across, those, if I'm out with people and that, I'll say, where's your timer? And they go, and they look around the camera and they're searching for it, and they find it eventually and they say, oh, I'm not sure how it works, hang on a minute. So you waste 5-10 minutes looking for that. By the time that's gone, the fox has run off, you know, it's gone. So find out where it is and how it works on your particular camera. That's a good thing. But basically, my aim is to inject a little bit of creativity and passion into your photography from here. You've all got the knowledge of how to take the pictures now. Now it's time to start looking for the unusual pictures, or the different pictures, or the pictures that stand out. Say when you've got a battle or a competition with another club, and you start to win the competitions, and you're getting really good points in these competitions. I know a lot of the clubs do that sort of thing. By basically thinking out of the box. So, here we go. I'm going to give you a very brief, you've seen that. I used to sell toffee apples for a living. Right, that was our family business was a fruit business, and one of our sort of sidelines, we used to sell toffee apples. We used to make 2,000 toffee apples a day and supply them to the holiday industry. So the reference from Candyman to cameraman is what that's about. And that's my old Leica.
I thought you were saying that because the Candyman can.
Well, he can. And does. Right. Brilliant picture, this. This goes back to where I very briefly touch on this. Years ago, this was 1982, in the middle of Yugoslavia, I think, or Hungary, and that's the Blue Danube. It looks absolutely beautiful, doesn't it? It's terrible. What had happened was, I'd been going, sort of ploughing along for quite a lot of years, travelling all over Europe, and I didn't have any photographs because I didn't have a camera. So just before we set off on this trip, I bought one of those Boots throwaway, plastic cameras, the 110 cartridges, I think they were. And I popped that in the back, off we went. We had a Bedford van, we drove down to Greece, through Hungary and Yugoslavia and everywhere on the way down, got to Greece, eventually came home, and I couldn't wait to get the film developed. And this was about one of the best shots. Bloody awful, basically. I think you could see the basis of the composition, you know, leading line coming in and going through. So I think I was beginning to get there without even knowing it. But this sort of went on for a while, to be honest, and I still didn't have a camera. And then in 1986, I decided, I was in Camden Town one day, and I turned to my missus and I said, this is stupid. We have all these adventures, but we don't have a camera. And a decent camera. Them pictures from Greece were terrible. So I decided to go and buy a camera. And I bought it in Camden Town. I bought that, a 50mm lens, and a 70 to 200 lens or something, and a book of how to do it, really. First day I bought it in 1986, I was dispatching in London at the time in a car, delivering parcels around London. That's why I was down there. And Lynn said, let's have chicken for tea. I said, all right, then I'll pull round the back of Marble Arch, and there's Marks and Spencer's round the corner. You nip out and get the chicken. I'll sit here in this back street on the double yellow lines. Fine. Off she went. I was sat there for a couple of minutes and I thought, oh, I'll have a little play with the camera. So as you do, I got the book out next to me on the seat. I got the camera out and I started to go, right, so if I do that and I do that and if I get that, and I was looking through the camera and seeing what the different things and focusing with it and everything. And I got a tap on the window, and there was a policeman stood next to me, and he said, can you wind your window down, sir? And then I looked round and I was surrounded by armed police, all with automatic rifles, all the way around me. So I thought, oh, and he said, do you realise where you are, sir? I said, round the back of Marks and Spencer's. And he said, you see that building that you're next to here? He said, this is the central police station where we take the IRA suspects. He said, and you've been surveilling us for the last 5 minutes. I said, no, I haven't. I said, look, no, filming the camera, you know. So anyway, Lynn came back round the corner eventually. And I said, look, there she is. She's got a chicken under her arm. And Lynn went like that. She went... She thought, I'm going to go the other way. I'm not going to have any of this. Anyway, she came back and we cleared it all and off we went. So that was my first encounter through photography, should we say. And I've had many since. And I don't know whether that had any bearing, you know, that sort of thing happening. There was a bit of a buzz involved in it as well, if you know what I mean. So I don't know, but I've always... for me, there's always a picture around the next corner, if you know what I mean. I'm walking around, I take my camera just about everywhere with me, and I'm hoping there's going to be a picture or something. And sometimes I go to events and things, so and try and make it happen. But for many years, down here at Whitby, I was photographing people in Victorian clothes. 24 years I was trapped. I was in the shop down here. And of course, I couldn't get out and do my own thing that much, but I tried to as much as I possibly could. We got Elle McPherson came in one day. She just wandered in with her £60,000 gold watch, which she threw on the side while we were having the picture taken. And then, of course, Vic Reeves and Nancy, they came in as well. So they were just two of the famous people that came in, but we had quite a lot of people. So people always used to associate me with sort of portrait photographer, and I'm not a portrait photographer at all, really. I'm more of a street photographer or a documentary photographer, I would say. I'm always looking, like I say, for that unusual picture. I mean, these pictures are not unusual by any means. I mean, they're, well, apart from they're in Victorian costume. I like the pictures that happen on the spur of the moment, things like that one. Hey, see? Somebody murmured. Good. So, this is one of my favourite pictures, actually. This was unexpected, but you have to be ready. Now, I was stood next to these two at Seymour Horse Fair in near Scarborough there, with gypsy kids they are, and these two kids have been following me. I was photographing the opening of the horse fair. These two kids followed me around all over the place. Take me picture, mister. Take me picture. Take me. I said, no. At this point, they were both sort of there. The thing was happening there. Somebody was reading the charter or something. They were there. I was stood here, and I had a 70 to 200 lens on. And I knew full well that I couldn't focus on them because they were right next to me. And I thought, I want this picture. So I said, no. I said, what do I want to take your picture for? And I sort of wandered away like that, slightly to the side, until I knew I was far enough away to get the sharpest picture I possibly could. And I just swung round and took the picture. The brothers, these two, the one on the right, grabbed him round the neck. And as he grabbed him, his mouth opened and no teeth at the front. I thought, oh, yes, thank you. So that was one of those moments when you get that spontaneous picture. And it's a great feeling when you get a picture like that. I mean, to be honest, you get home and you think, I hope I got it sharp. I hope I got it this. I hope I got it that. That's one of my favourite portrait pictures. So it basically, the fact that I moved slightly to the side, I was thinking on the spot, as it were, how do I get this picture? I've got a long lens and they're right next to me. So I moved back a little bit and took the picture. I knew it was going to work in black and white as well, of course. But great, I loved them too for that. I sent them a copy, actually, to their caravan in Hull somewhere. This, sometimes recognising a picture, this does it for me, this one, because I was walking along as I took this at one of the shows, and the people all over there were watching something going on like a load of sheep. And of course, these were looking at them, and you could almost imagine the conversation from this one to the sheep in front saying, look at them, they're like sheep, aren't they? And that was the thought that was going. I know it's a little bit tenuous, but it's still the thought, and I thought I'll take it anyway. But just the fact that we associate sheep with crowds and stuff like that, I reversed it, if you see what I mean. I couldn't resist this picture. The one in the background is quite amorous, look. Have you noticed? I mean, sometimes you look at like horses over hedges and you think, oh, it'd be a nice portrait shot, blah, blah, blah. But this one just had that little bit extra with the other one a bit further back with the appendage. So I thought that was quite amusing. I found it highly amusing. But again, it was seeing it, it happened quite quickly. The one at the back wandered off very quickly after that, you know. It wouldn't have been quite the same with just that one. It wandered off into the mist. But yeah, so I mean, like I say, you come across things like this is what I would consider to be a standalone picture. So is the two boys in a way, but the two boys in the previous picture, that was part of a load of pictures I did at the Seymour Horse Fair, which also make a story. So it was one of those pictures that could be both. And out of that storyline that I was doing for the Gypsies, I got that one particular standalone picture, which is actually done quite well in a competition in California. Actually, it did quite well, that. I like to get up close and personal, and again, it's about seeing the opportunities when you're there. I mean, these cows, these are at Malham Cove, they were used to people, really used to people, so you could approach them quite close. In fact, I got a bit too close at one point and got slime all over my lens. So, but yeah, I mean, if you've got a camera with a wide-angle lens on, I mean, it depends. I mean, even your compact cameras and that can go quite wide now. And if you get in close, you get that exaggerated look, which is what I was after. Standalone picture, this one, really. Sometimes you're wandering along and you come across, I mean, they must think I'm weird, I don't know, people, but I was walking along and I saw these people with their dog, and the dog looked at me. I thought, oh, I've got to have a picture. I said, excuse me, do you mind if I take a picture of your dog? And I just wanted to get them teeth. Has anybody seen Gone Fishing with Whitehouse and Mortimer? Yeah, that dog that goes around with them, it's, you can imagine it talking like that. What you taking my picture for? But yeah, so again, it's got a touch of humour about it. So it's taken it from the colours, the composition, the exposure, and it's given it another dimension in the fact that it's got some content in it. But it's a simple picture. It's not a complicated picture. But I think the woolly jumper's lovely as well. I want one. This picture was a couple of, I was at a zoo, obviously, and these two were messing around like this and doing this sort of business. And there was a little series of pictures. I managed to, whoa. Hang on, can we go, whoa. What happened there? I can't talk that fast, I'm sorry. I must have pressed it too hard. Oh, it's done it again. All right, okay. Go back to the elephants one then. Ooh, there. Yeah, so these two were having some sort of a, I don't know, it was a greeting or whatever and stuff like that, and I was stood watching, and I thought, yeah, and they were against a dark building behind, so I could get that darkness to start with. And then the next one, another elephant came in and sort of prized them apart. It was almost like a mediator, you know. But both of those elephant pictures have earned me quite a bit of money in competitions, in the magazines as well, in Practical Photographer and things like that. I think I got, I think the other one, I think they both won me about 300 quid a piece, those. But they've won in other ones as well. Next one. And then sometimes when you're taking pictures of animals in zoos, you're looking for something unusual. Everybody's seen a picture of a chimp, everybody's seen a picture of an elephant. So you're looking for something different, and I stand and I watch sometimes, and I saw this one just relaxing with its feet up like that, and it just makes it, for me, a different picture, than the normal one. I hope you're all getting some ideas now, are you? Yeah. Well, we haven't got there yet, but we are getting there. Next one. I have a little kitten that I've had for about 1.5 years now or something, and I followed that during lockdown especially. I followed that kitten all over. Poor little thing. Kept on looking at me and saying, "Oh no, not the camera again." But she's called Willow, and she's a beautiful little cat, and she's fascinated by the taps and things like that. But again, I knew that I'd seen her do this before, so I set the water going again and watched her and waited until she was, and the way she looks at it, it looks like she's almost boss-eyed as well, But if you notice, the composition is basically where the taps start, and it draws you in through there and back down again, you see. So composition is important on this picture as well. This is part of a storyline. I'm going to be doing a book on her in a while. I've taken so many pictures. I've selected up to now 350 pictures for the book. So, and I like to put a picture on every page. But yeah, I think all of us that have got pets or children can do this type of thing. I don't mean put the kids on the work surface and turn the tap. No, but if we've got pets and things like that, and you follow them around, they do funny things if you really watch them. But you've got to watch them, and I think a lot of people pick up on it. It's one of the easier things to pick up on and get unusual pictures. And then for competitions like here, in the photographic societies, they're great, they're fantastic for competitions. I've actually got one of these. Next one. Oh, not that one. That was, she first got out in the garden after she's been spayed, and we were playing in the garden, and there was a stone on there, and she was claws through trying to get hold of the stone. So of course I had my camera with me straight away, and I got that picture, which I'm quite pleased with actually. And those claws are so sharp. My neck every night. Next one. Then around the corner was a little dog that used to, if you went anywhere near the front door, it used to flip the thing up and stick its nose through, this little dog. They've changed the door now, believe it or not. It's up there now, the letterbox. It can't do it now. But that, I call that When the Postman Calls. But yeah, that... But humorous, and I mean, the door is insignificant. It's just the eyes. And funnily enough, the next one is Willow doing the same thing. I call this Welcome Home. This has just been shortlisted in the British Photography Awards. I would have been going down to the Dorchester on Park Lane for the evening when they give out the awards and everything, because they don't tell you who the winners are until you get there. But I thought, I don't think I can. And you had to wear a tuxedo with a black tie, and I can't see me in that. No, I didn't fancy it. But it has been shortlisted, and it's still to be chosen yet. But I call that Welcome Home, because during lockdown, every time I came home, if I just touched the letterbox, she'd run up and jump up and welcome me home again. So, again, having the camera ready is very important. Next one. Association. Pictures that have an association with something else, or juxtaposition, or whatever. When I'm walking around, I'm looking for things, and I saw this boat that was called Predator. And it's a real battered old boat in Scarborough Harbour there. And I was looking at it, and then I suddenly noticed my own shadow on it. And I thought, well, when I'm walking around with the camera, I'm a predator. So I linked the two together, and, you know, and it just made a picture for me. You know, the link between me being a predator and the boat being a predator. It was really difficult to get a good angle on it, but I got one in the end. Next one. Yeah. Freedom of speech is dead. That was in Edinburgh, and I was walking along and somebody had stuck that across his mouth. I thought, yes, yeah, it was peeling off, you know. I just thought there was a picture there, and I took that some time ago, actually. But you could use that. And of course, this space down the front here, excuse me, you could use it for all sorts of things. Would you? I've got a frog and a cat. Yeah, you could use this space at the bottom there. You could use it for all sorts of things. You could use it on the front of a book. It'd be handy for putting strapping or titling on a book if you were doing a street photography book, let's say, or anything like that. So I always look at pictures in a way that it's possible for them to be used for other things as well. Not just standalone pictures, but used for competitions, for books, all sorts of things. And I'm always thinking about like front covers of books. I do that as an exercise, you might say, as well, thinking what, you know, which pictures that I take would be good for book covers, which I think is another good competition possibility for the future. Oh, you're so kind, thank you. There's no gin in that. Thank you. Yeah, so thinking ahead there, just as a thought, that book covers could be another title for one of your competitions, perhaps in the future. You know, what people could come up with for a book cover, whether it's landscape or portrait. I just thought maybe an idea there. Next one. Oh yeah, this has got. I'd seen the possibilities of a photograph here on the waltzer. I think it's Hull Fair. These two people were really enjoying it, but well, I think they were. But I'd seen the Here's Johnny picture as well at some point. I didn't see the guy in the background, who obviously didn't like me taking that picture. He's given me a pretty evil look there. But with all the lights and everything, I decided to go in black and white. Just because I think the colour, it was a bit confusing. But in black and white, it seemed to make it stand out. And the picture of Johnny really stands out the picture as well, and these two are having a good time and he's looking evil in the background. So yeah, it's sometimes making things happen and sometimes being lucky that something happens as well. Yeah, I mean, I think he would have had me thrown off if he could. Next one. I was in Leicester Square the night that No Time to Die was what do they call it, the first one? Premiere, that's it. And I was in Leicester Square, and this I don't usually take pictures of people that are less fortunate, shall I say, laying on the streets, that are hungry for whatever reason. I don't take pictures unless it's going to help them. In this case, I just had to take it because of the juxtaposition again. It looked, I mean, he's just turning away as if he's just shot him. And he's telling the boss that the job's done, you see. I have a story going on in my head here, and I couldn't resist the picture in the end. We didn't see too much of the man's face, so it was okay. It looks almost like he's been handcuffed, doesn't it? But these, I suppose, it's just when you're walking around and you see these, I see these things, and I'm hoping that after you've seen these pictures, that you will start to do the same thing. I mean, people will think you're weird as well. So, next one. Ah, yeah, signs and things like that I like, you know, odd little oddities. I was just out on a daily walk and I saw that and I thought, oh, well, that's quite amusing. I quite like that, you know, Ed Chef. Yeah, you should have seen the rest of the vehicle. It's one of the, what they call, I don't know what it means or why it is, but they call it the Rat Bastard Crew. I don't know what it is, but they're all really battered out old cars and things like that. Next one. Oh yeah. And in France, even though my French is quite limited, I think they were telling us not to do something up against their door, which I found amusing. Yeah. It looks like plenty of people have over the years, doesn't it? Next one. Yeah, I like as well. The people tend to. This is a ride in La Rochelle, in France, and I love the rides in France. The carousels, the horses and everything. They always look really, really sinister, and I kind of like that because, and they don't tart them up too much. They leave them almost original. I mean, these will be 100 years old or more. And some of the rides are absolutely beautiful. It's very tempting to take that picture, that whole picture of the ride. I think most people do. I mean, I do as well. But then I like to really get in on the nitty-gritty and get round, see if there's any compositions of the horses on the rides themselves. I mean, we get lots of gallopers coming around here on the fairgrounds and things like that. Hull Fair, Brid Fair, Scarborough Fair, Whitby Fair, and they usually have a galloper, and they are the most beautiful machines. They really are, and very photogenic. And if you pick bits out of them, and if you can get a composition, it's quite difficult to get the composition just right, but you can actually get, I mean, like this, it's sort of this one in the foreground here really stands out, and then the other one is in a on the other third, on the other side, and then you've got this painting of one on that side. So yeah, it works as a composition, as an individual. I mean, you know what the rest of it looks like, but it gives you an idea. Next one. Oh yeah. Scary dolls. I tell you, I love scary dolls, and I found this at one of the traction engine fairs in the summer. And this lady there, she has all these vintage prams, and she has all these dolls in them, and they're quite spooky. She's invited me to. She's from Withensea, or as they say in Hull, Withensea. And they've invited me to they've got a museum there where they've got prams and dolls and everything else, and they've got, like, the husband has got about 6 or 7 big trucks and stuff like that are vintage. Anyway, they've invited me to go down at some point, which I will. And apparently she's promised me there's an awful lot more of these scary dolls. So I shall be going to get them. But instead of taking the pram itself and everything, I wanted to just get the bit of the pram, so you could see it was an oldish pram by the material and things, and I wanted to get a really close-up picture of the dolls. They're so realistic, some of them. Frightening. Next one. I was in Cheltenham. Situation, right? I'm walking down the street and I see these two girls in the window rearranging the window. One of them sort of made a gesture that she wanted a hand to move the mannequin. I was across the road at this point, further across the road with Lynn. Lynn thought I'd gone mad. And I thought, I know what's going to happen here. They're going to lift the dummy and move it. And I thought, where are they going to hold it? So I ran across the road, and I got halfway across the road, and I took one picture, and they just started to do it. And I nearly got run over. The car bibbed at me because I ran right out in front of him. Don't do this at home, please. And I ran across the road, and I got to this close to the window, and I got a picture just before. She must have realised that I was there at this point, and I got that picture, and I was so pleased because I called it "Mind the Gap." Again, sometimes titles can be quite good fun, you know, and a bit boisterous with photographs. I like that. I sent them a copy of that, and apparently they had it up on the wall in the shop, which I thought was quite nice. Yeah, it's a good one, that. That actually was in the British Life Photography Awards. It's in the book. You can see this one in the actual book. It's in there. Next one. Yeah. I love dummies. I just love them. I think they're weird. I've done a book on them as well. All of mannequins. I called it dummies, but mannequins. And I've been promised on next Wednesday, the chairman of Scarborough Football Club, who's a good friend of me, he says, date for your diary, next Wednesday, 1 o'clock, he says, Debenhams, what used to be Debenhams in Scarborough in the Brunswick, he says there's a room full of mannequins, and we've got permission to go in and take a lot of the fittings and put them in our pop-up shop for the Scarborough Football Club. So he said, come down at the same time, he says, and I'll get you into that room. So I'm going to be in a room with a load of mannequins next Wednesday. So it's good. See, if you see me wandering through Scarborough with 2 or 3 of them on my shoulders, you know what's happening. But yeah, I like that one. I called it Elbow Room, that one. So, yeah, next one. I recently sold that picture as a one-off to Google for £2,000. They wanted it for an ad, and they were going to have it, and I got paid £2,000 for that. I called that was in the British Life Awards. That's where they found it, and it was called Very Little Helps. And it was to do with the weather, you see, and one thing. So I'm thinking out of the box all the time here. I hope you sort of get where I'm going with this sort of thing. It's my best way of demonstrating what I mean by looking for the unusual, the out of the box sort of ideas. Next one. That was in town during lockdown. The seagulls, because there was no people on the beach, they were all coming up into town in Scarborough and attacking people in the streets for their sandwiches. So, yeah, it looked like it had to go to her legs already. No, it was, again, this happened so quickly as I was walking through town, and it was the bird that alerted me, because it was going, rah, rah, rah. It was shouting like hell at her, it was. And I sort of turned round and I went, oh, boom. And of course, I've always got my camera set and ready to go, bang, there. So I quite like that picture from that point of view. She looks very disgruntled by it, doesn't she? You're not having any. Next one. This one was quite literally in the box. Not out of it, but in it. I managed to talk the guy in who did the Punch and Judy to let me come in the box with him and take a picture looking out, as opposed to taking a picture of the Punch and Judy looking in, because I love Punch and Judy, I think it's great. You've got to be a bit careful when you're photographing the kids at the front, you know, when they're enjoying the show and one thing or another. I did a few of those pictures back in 1993 in Filey that were very popular. The kids get really excited and they start chowing at the policeman or whoever it is. Or yeah, that was shortlisted for something. I can't remember now, but it was British Awards, I think. Next one. That was in Oxford. I was just walking down the street. I mean, like as you do. I mean, how strange. I mean, how many times do people... I mean, let's just say you were walking down the street and you saw that and you've got your phone in your pocket. If you're a teenager, you've got it strapped to your face, like that. But yeah, I mean, how... By the time you've got your phone on, you've got it right for the camera and that and taking the picture, they've gone. You know, unless you actually stop them and get a photograph, but if you've got your camera ready, it's there. But I don't know what that was about. It was some sort of freshers week, I think, in Oxford. Next one.
Gin and tonic week, according to the sign.
Sorry?
It was gin and tonic week.
Yeah, it's always gin and tonic week in Oxford. Yeah, this is an exercise of it's tempting to take the pictures of... There were 3 teenage girls, and it was about the Black Lives Matter and everything, about racist people and all this sort of business. And I was wandering around in the middle of them, trying to find pictures that told the story, basically. And I got quite a few. I've got a good storyline on this one. But this one particularly got me, and I thought, I'm not going to show their faces, I'm just going to show their silhouettes, because it was a good, strong, sunny day, so I used the silhouettes instead of them, but kept the signs in. So that, I mean, that's always, this is a sort of newspaper type picture, really, this one, that you would use in a newspaper where you don't want to use the faces. Next one. Yeah, that was in the on the what do they call it? The Armed Forces Day in Scarborough, and I was following these pensioners all over the place. I'm a pensioner now as well. I'm not a Chelsea one. I'm a Scarborough one. But yeah, I followed them all over, and you know, there's that. Is the word solemnity that's attached to them, and they're all so very... I mean, they're all lovely people, and they were laughing and joking, but when they're doing the parade, they're so serious. Yeah, that's the word. They're kind of... they take it very seriously, and you've got to admire them for it, really. Nice. And that's what I wanted to say about this picture. The roads were thick with people down the seafront at Scarborough, and you couldn't really get into the sides of the roads without there being loads of people in front of you. So I decided in the end to go onto the road, come in front of them all, and if I'd have been stood in front of them all, there'd have been hell would have broken out. But I decided I was going to sit on the curb in front of them. So I sat on the curb in front of all the people that were there, so that I didn't get in anybody's way, and I had a clear shot of everybody coming through on the parade. I got quite a lot of good shots of the parade, just by, sitting down rather than standing up. I always think I like things about the Poppy Day. This was in Hull. This was at the train station in Hull at Ferrens Way there. There was a display, a poppy display about the men of Hull that got killed in the war and stuff, in the First World War especially. So that's what that, there's another one as well. Next one, yeah, that one. I thought they'd been quite creative doing that on the windows. Next one. Oh, and then we had the Jubilee, the Queen's Jubilee, didn't we, this year? And I was looking for Jubilee. I thought I'll go out and I'll just take Jubilee pictures today. Anything to do with the Queen's Jubilee. This is at Stephen Joseph Theatre, those telephone boxes outside. And I saw the connection between the crown on the telephone box and the Queen above with the rays going out from it. I also got a picture just before that of, there was a mannequin in the shop window, and it was positioned in such a way that there was a picture of the Queen in front of it, hanging or something, and it looked like the mannequin had the Queen's head on it. Stuff like that, you know, I like all that sort of thing. There was a big thing at Statendale, on the coast there. There was a mile of crocheted stuff to do with the Queen, and it was all crocheted just about. And I went into the little village hall, and I said to the woman there, I said, "Bah, there's some work being done here," and she said, yes, we've been working on this for quite some time. And I said, the wool shops must be empty round here. I said, there can't be any wool left. She went, no, we got through quite a lot of it. I said, what are you going to do with it all now? She says, we're saving it for the coronation. That's what she said to me, and it took a minute for it to drop in, and then I went, oh, really? So they've obviously brought it all out again since. Next one. A little bit jiggery pokery there. I took a picture of the arrows going across like that. I turned it up, and the other one was just one on its own that I copied and pasted it into there. So it's not real, that. They're not going to crash. But I just thought I would try and make something a bit more, because this is another thing I want to touch on. A lot of people use Photoshop and things like that, and they go over the top with it. I found when I was judging the competitions before that a lot of pictures get messed with a bit too much, and like folks think if they want an altered image, they'll just get like the warp tool and warp things in it, and it very rarely works for me, that personally, anything like that. I think you can use these filters that they have there much better than doing stuff like that. And it's something that I find an awful lot at the photographic societies. People put these filters on, or you know, and it spoils what effectively was most probably a good picture for me. But I mean, I just, it was just a demonstration to say I use it sometimes, depending on what it is. Next one. Oh yeah, he was lonesome tonight. Just walking by the bed shop in Scarborough there, and that was there. I thought it was quite funny. Because another thing I do is I find a subject, and I look, like I said at the beginning there, you start to look for things that are related to that subject. I thought about flags, so I started to look for flags. So you'll notice there's been a few pictures of flags and things like that in it. So the Union Jack, of course, not the other ones. Next one. So this one was on the, that was at Statendale. I love JB's Honesty Shop. I just thought this was so quaint. This was just a straight picture, a record picture. These are I just liked the title, JB's Honesty Shop, you know. I thought it was good. But if you look, well, you can't see it on here, but if you look closely, it says you've been watched on CCTV. Which I thought was quite amusing. But again, flags going off. This was at Stainton. This was at the Jubilee thing, and they tarted up the whole mile, I think it was. It was very nice. It was very well done. Next one. And anyway, this was at the Jubilee as well. Pomp and Circumstance. It was at Hummunby. So sometimes you can use a foreground interest and blur it out, and then have your sharpness on the thing that you want people's eyes to go to. That's what I wanted to do with that, and that one. That's the again, it was about the flags, that really, more than anything. But that's a pretty straightforward picture, that one, of the bandsman and everything. Next one. Now you'll all know this one, the Gooseberry Show. I didn't take these this year. I took them last year, but when it was the COVID madness was, well, not madness, but when everybody was quite frightened about it, and everybody was walking around with this, and I just I found it really funny that people walk around, because they can obviously see out through that, but it looks like they can't, and like you expect them to walk into posts and all sorts of things. But yeah, I thought that. So this one connects with the next picture. That one, you see, there was another one. He was a gooseberry bandit, that one, stealing all the gooseberries. No, he was just stood there, and I thought, I've got to get that picture. But the Gooseberry Show, I don't know if anybody goes, but it's a fabulous show. I love it every year. It's just over 250 years old it is, and I think it is, and it's fabulous. And they had a world champion a couple of years ago. They missed a year because of COVID, but they had a world champion, the biggest gooseberry, and it was in the Guinness Book of Records. And then a pie later. Next one. This was up South Cliff. If ever I'm out and about and I'm wandering and I see anything happening, I have to go and investigate, you know. So don't be shy. Go over and take pictures. A lot of people tend not to like to go. They were singing to an audience to my left, but they must have thought. I wonder what they thought. I was right up there, right in front of them, you know, taking pictures and stuff. I think it's difficult sometimes to do that. Some people stand back with a bit longer lens and take these pictures, but I like to get in there, get as close as I can without becoming, you know, too intrusive. But yeah, but I thought it was so quaint, was this, and British, the British have wonderful. What's the word I'm looking for? It's gone completely out of my head. But we have traditions. We have traditions in this country that are just so eccentric sometimes, you know, that I think it's really nice. And Pierrots, I mean, you know, they were doing this act as Pierrots. Next one. And I go to the car shows. Now then, this is an example of trying to get something different. When you go to these car shows, trying to get a picture of the cars is a nightmare, because there's loads of people all around them all the time. And you think, oh, I'd like to get a picture of this Chevrolet or this Cadillac or whatever. But, you know, there's always somebody in the background, or there's somebody, so you can't get them. So you have to be a little bit creative and try and get unusual pictures of them. I mean, people straight away know that that's an American car straight away because of the flag. But that flag was further down. And I got my brother-in-law to hold it out because it was flat at the time. So I was cheating. But yeah. And I was down on the floor and I took a picture looking up. Next one. In the back of a car. I don't know what that was all about, but it was interesting, so I took it. Inside these car shows. But again, I had to wait till all the people at the front of the car had gone, you know, so there was nobody walking by. So I had a nice clean background. That's the biggest thing at them. Next one. Right. This one is the same situation as the American car, the back of the Chevy or Cadillac. But I found if I got down on the floor and looked up, I could get these pictures with just the sky in the background, which makes it interesting a bit more. So don't be frightened to get down low and just do parts of cars or parts of whatever you're photographing and use the sky as a backdrop sometimes. I mean, I think that's a good tip. I don't even know what car that was, to be honest, but I loved the horse on the bonnet. I thought it was great. And that it's very Art Deco, isn't it, with that? It looks like one of them trains from that time. Next one. And that one. Again, looking up and DMG. Next one. And that one. This one, I made this one like this, so I had more sky, just in case I wanted to put a title on it or something like that. I can always crop it down to a square, or use it as a book cover, or again a book cover, leaving space for it. And I focused completely on the talisman thing on the bonnet. I don't know anything about cars, nothing whatsoever. I just like the look of some of them, you know. Next one. Race the Waves at Brid. I managed to get onto you're not allowed on the beach unless you've got a press pass. I didn't have a press pass, but I managed to wangle myself down onto the beach at Bridlington, where there was 80,000 people there last year in June for this thing, and there are hot rods that race up and down the beach at Brid. And this guy was quite a character, and I just saw him and said, stay there. But I wanted him, and he started to pose for me too much, and I said, no, just stand like you were, like you haven't seen me. And then I took his picture. I just wanted it to look like he was stood waiting for somebody, you know, because I like that sort of a portrait rather than that posed look. So with your portraits and things like that, if you can make them look as natural as possible, and that person in the background, I thought, I'll just leave it there. I won't bother. I'll just do it as it is to make it look more spontaneous again. Next one. These are the cars. There's some fantastic cars. Really are good fun. I'm hoping. Well, I've got an all areas press pass for next year, because I've the guy that was organising it, I've let him use some of the pictures and things like that. So next one, that one, the girls starting them on the beach, and that one there, I was particularly pleased with that, so I thought I'll have a little tinker with that, and I made a poster. Next one, there you go. I mean, this is using a lot of Photoshop and one thing and another to put it together. I used the cutout filter. This is an example of the filter. You know, if it suits, use it. And the filter made it look oldie-worldy, you know, with the hot rods and everything. I made this poster up, and the guy who organises it saw it and says, can we use it for next year's publicity? So I said, yes, you can. I said, as long as I get all areas passed for next year, I can go where I like. And he went, done, straight away. So they're using this, and it's going to go up in Brid, all over Brid, is this poster. There's hundreds of them being printed. I was quite pleased with that, really. It was quite an effective exercise from that other picture that you saw just a minute ago. Next one. So I did it with the cheeky blinders. Cheeky blinders, yeah. They go around, they do the reenactors, and they do parties and things like that. So I sent Aunt Paul that, and she liked it.